All right, we are being joined in the interview area with the University of Tennessee student athletes. Welcome, fellas.
Oh.
And please raise your hand, and we will get a microphone to you. Questions right up here in front.
This is for Jemai, Rob Lewis with VolQuest.com. Jemai, just how much are you motivated now by the thought that every time you go out there might be the last time that you play with these guys?
It's definitely surreal. Putting in so much work, putting in so much time. These are my guys, man. These are my brothers, and the 4 years kind of went by fast. Knowing that Sakai was with me, all 4 years, he understands the experience. But like I've been saying, this whole time I've been on the podium, every time I come up here, people have no idea the stuff that we've gone through as a team. Like the ups and downs, the mental health struggles, the having to go through injuries, transfer portal stuff. Like we've had to go through so much in order to get to this point, and for us to really fight through that and show that adversity, I think this is probably one of the most special teams that I've been a part of. So knowing that's going to be the last one is, surreal, but I'm excited to keep going and keep moving forward.
Questions, please, right here.
Hi, Liv Clements with Indiana University. And Zakai, I wanted to ask, with this tournament, it's been a tough road against the Wildcats. What is going to have to change tomorrow for you guys to get to that win?
Sakai?
Well, we didn't play like ourselves the first two times we played them. I feel like I could say, obviously, they won the game. They got the best of us. But, just going out there and just really everybody doing our jobs and being ourselves, that's going to be the main goal. And we do that, I feel like we have a pretty good chance to win the game.
Right over here. Yeah.
Akeem Glaspie, Indy Star. This is for Zakai. I understand you're the shortest scholarship player in the last 45 years at Tennessee. Despite your size, what allows you to be such a good player?
Sakai?
Just being myself. My mom always told me height don't matter or anything like that. As long as I go out there and do what I need to do, then you'll be out there on the court. So, just really being a dog, playing as hard as I can at all times, really just being myself. And my mom always told me it's possible. So, I always believed it, and I'm improving every time I'm out there on that court.
Right here in front.
Right here. Sarandon Raboyne, WHAS 11. So this is the first time that Tennessee and Kentucky are meeting in the NCAA tournament. Just what does it mean to be a part of this rivalry and to be still making history as a part of this established rivalry?
Is that for any of the players?
For all.
Okay.
I feel like it's definitely one of the biggest rivalries in college basketball. And, it's definitely fun, going into Rupp, going into TBA, playing those games. It's a lot of emotion that goes into it. But this being the first time, meeting in a place like this, and especially for a moment like this, and especially knowing how many seniors we got on this team and, going into the game, how the season went in the regular season playing against them. So it definitely is going to be a lot of fun going out there, and it definitely going to mean a lot, not only us, but Vol Nation.
That was Zakai. Cade, please.
Yeah, I'll back that up. I think it's one of the biggest rivalries in not just college basketball, but college sports. Throughout the sports, and every time we play each other, it's one of the biggest stages in the country, and for it to even be elevated even more, to be in March Madness, just adds that much more to the rivalry.
Jemai?
I speak, same thing. I'm big on rivalries. When I don't like a school, I don't like it, and I want to do everything I can to make sure that we win that game. I'm taking this as serious as I possibly can, and everybody knows, this whole team knows, we want nothing more but to not just win, but to make a statement with a team like this. And like I said, we didn't play ourselves the first two times, and we know we have to do into this game. We got to play Tennessee basketball at the best level.
Right here.
Yeah, for Zakai and Jemai, the guys have been around campus a while. What do you remember most from the baseball team winning it all last summer and everything that kind of went with that? And how badly do you guys want to give that to Coach Barnes and your program?
Could you give a name and affiliation, please?
Gentry Estes, Tennessean.
Thank you. And that was for all the players?
It's for Zakai and Jemai.
Okay. Sakai?
I remember I was in my apartment watching the game, and I remember when he got that strikeout, and everybody in the whole city, they all started beeping their horns. Everybody was outside. People started running around. So it was amazing to, be in Knoxville when that happened and just witness how great the feeling was, because it didn't feel like that only the baseball team won. It felt like the whole city won. And, it definitely, winning a national championship in basketball and knowing what this team has been through, knowing what Coach Barnes has been through, it definitely mean a lot, not only to us but to him. But the ups and downs and how much that we go through in practice, how much work we put in, how much we sacrifice individually, it definitely mean a lot to us, and it definitely mean a lot to Coach Barnes.
Jemai?
I've said it a lot as well. Winning a natty for me would be cool. I feel like I would enjoy it. It'd be great. But nobody deserves a national championship than the city of Knoxville and Coach Barnes. If you really look and sit down and really pay attention to the fan base, like, they are nothing short of amazing. Their commitment to this program, their commitment to the players, no matter if we win, lose, whatever, the people that are real, true Vol fans, they deserve nothing more but a national championship. And that's what I'm fighting for. That's what I'm fighting to try and get. Like I said, it's not for me. It's not even for my teammates. It's for the fans in the city of Knoxville that's been waiting so long for something like this, because they've come so close and have always almost gotten there and have some great teams. So I want to be the player and the team to come out and get that for them, because they deserve nothing short of a national championship.
Right here.
Rob Lewis with VolQuest.com. Cade, for you guys are so good defensively all year, especially defending the three-point line. Kentucky hit 12 in each game. Was there a common denominator for the breakdowns? Why did they have so much success?
That Z and Jamal have both said it, that we didn't play Tennessee basketball the first 2 times we played them, and we understand that. And the good thing about our team is, we've had as much early season success as anybody, but I think we've also improved throughout the season just as much as anybody. And so these are 2 totally different teams that are playing this go around compared to the first 2.
That was Cade. Okay, right here.
Josh Bodie with Wish TV. I saw you guys were at the Pacers-Lakers game last night. What was that experience like, and what was it like to see your former teammate play?
Jemai, we'll start with you.
It was exciting. It was definitely a great moment just to go out and see him play. We don't get a lot of opportunities to see him, just in general, just because he's busy with his schedule, we're busy with ours. So being able to interact with him, talk to him, outside of just the phone, it was really cool to see, and it was a great game as well. So glad we were able to go out and do something different as a team.
Cade?
Yeah, and I think it's cool to see an NBA game, because that's where we all want to be in the next couple of years. And so to see a guy that we've known, we've seen him put the work in, a guy we love, to see him doing what he loves to do and what we want to do really is more of an inspiration than anything to work harder and really get that much closer to our goals.
Yeah, it was really a great experience. Like Kay said, one day we all want to be in that position that he's in today. And, we saw all the work that he was putting in every single day to get to where he's at. And, just knowing some of the things that we know now and through the game of basketball and just the little things, I feel like it was a little bit different for me personally, just being able to watch it up close. But it definitely was an eye-opening experience, and, I'm really glad to see him out there.
That was Sakai. Right over here.
Yes, Akeem Gillespie, Indy Star. This is for Jemai. What's it like having Zakai as a teammate, and when did you realize that he was the right person to lead this team?
Jemai?
All jokes aside, this is, one of my, closest friends. It's a brother, somebody I'm going to have for the rest of my life. Honestly, I was, something that's been on my mind, but I feel like he deserves more respect just as a point guard. I feel like he's the best point guard in the country. I don't feel like it's close. For him to be able to do what he does on both ends, leading and assist on the team like that, being able to score the ball, how he handles the game, how he controls the game throughout the whole game, throughout 40 minutes, the amount of minutes he plays, all that being in consideration, and then also being a part of the Naismith, Defensive Player of the Year with me, you don't see point guards doing that. And I feel like just as an overall game, the overall point guard, I feel like he's the best point guard in the country, and I don't think it's close for him to be able to do it on both sides of the ball. But, man, if you just look at his career, you look at even this season, he goes through stints where if he's not shooting well, he'll figure out a way to make his team better. If he goes through stints where he's turning the ball over, he'll still figure out a way to make his team better. So I think the versatility, the resilience for what he's gone through, obviously, like I said before, he's my brother, so I've have fights with him all the time. We've gotten into each other, but we're always connected. We're always close, and I think that just makes our competitive spirit as good as it is today. But man, having him as a point guard for 4 years, I'm blessed to be able to have somebody like him, have my back.
Right here in the back.
Yeah, for Cade and Zakai, Daryl Burr with the Cats Paws in Lexington. Both of you guys said when you play Kentucky, you didn't play Tennessee basketball. Can you define that for us? And it's been over a month since the last game. What ways has Tennessee changed since then?
Cade, we'll start with you.
Defensively, we're a team that prides ourselves on defensive and toughness, and that's something that we practice every day. And we felt that the first 2 times we played Kentucky, that was not an emphasis of what we did. We felt like our head was other places. And so, it has been longer than a little over a month since we played them. And so, we've played a lot of big games since then. And so our team, we've learned a lot about each other and about ourselves. And like I said earlier, we've continued to improve. We're a very intrinsically focused team. And so we focus on every game on what we need to do. And so that's where we've grown over this last month.
Zakai?
Yeah, I feel like, piggyback over what he said, really on the defensive end, we weren't ourselves, just little things like being in our gaps or 50-50 balls. So really just picking our intensity back up and just being ourselves. Like we know we're the best defense in the country, and we didn't show that either times that we played them. Offense is going to take care of itself, and, Coach Barnes lets us know that all the time. But, just being ourselves on defense, going out there and showing that we number 1 defense in the country and just doing all the little things and everything, all the details that we telling each other to do and sticking to the game plan, then we'll be fine. But I don't feel like we did that in either game, and we'll make sure to do better this time.
Right here.
WHAS 11, for any of you guys, there's at least one SEC team that's going to make it to the Elite 8, possibly 6 could make it. Just what do you think that says about the conference as a whole and just the amount of competition you've faced so far?
Jamari, we'll start with you.
I think it just shows just how deep this conference was, how tough this conference was. Like, we really beat each other up, this whole time. And you could see some teams were tired going into the tournament. Some teams were able to hit that second gear. Luckily, we were able to hit that second gear. We want to hit another one. But, man, like, every game you play in, it feels like it's a quad 1 game. Every home crowd you have, you feel like you're coming in and they're gonna go at you. They're gonna have that energy. So I think throughout the whole season, having to go through all those teams, it helps you build resilience. It helps you with the experience. I think we've grown throughout the time. Like, we've definitely done what we needed to do as far as getting the wins that we were supposed to. We dropped some losses that we felt like we could have grown from, but every loss we had this season, I feel like we've gotten better from it. So I think the experience of going through different teams, playing different types of play styles, different offenses, different defenses, it gets us ready for a tournament like this where you don't know who you're going to play. So I think, obviously, to answer your question, the SEC this is the best conference I think it's ever been. So it's amazing to be able to be a part of such a great conference.
A couple more for the student athletes right here.
Yeah, Daryl Burr with the Cats Paws again. For Zakai, if this is off base, I'll apologize early. But being a smaller player, were you a fan of Kentucky's Tyler Eulis once upon a time when he was there?
Yeah, I was a fan of Tyler Eulis, not Kentucky, but I was a fan of Tyler Eulis for sure. He was somebody that won Defensive Player of the Year and Player of the Year the same year, and he's about my size. So he was definitely a great player, great point guard, and he was definitely somebody I looked up to.
One more for the student athletes right here.
John Huang, NOLA Media. This is for Zakai. Zakai, you've been around for a while. You know the back and forth that goes on between the 2 fan bases, Kentucky and Tennessee. How much extra pressure is there on you and your teammates to make sure you don't lose to those guys 3 times in a row?
Zakai.
Well, I wouldn't really say it's extra pressure because, we're going out there and doing what we do every single day. You can't really control if the ball goes in the basket or not, but you can control some things like our defense and our effort. So, going out there and just doing what we do and just knowing that Vol Nation will have our back no matter what, we know they're going to have our back and give us energy, and whether they're there in the stadium or whether they're in the TV, we feel that energy no matter what. So, Vol Nation, we got the best fan base in the country, and like I just said, whether they're there or not, we're going to feel that energy, and they're going to bring the fight to us. And no matter what stadium we play in, we know they're going to feed the floor. So, I don't really feel any pressure, and I know my teammates don't really feel any pressure, and we just going to go out there and do what we do.
Thanks, fellas. Hi, Rick. Bill Benner. Okay, we've been joined by Coach Barnes, and Coach will ask you to make an opening statement, and then we'll go to questions.
Well, obviously excited and blessed to have this opportunity to be here and represent the University of Tennessee in this next round, and so happy for our players and everyone involved with our program. And obviously we've played Kentucky twice, and they've played great against us. I think both games made 12 threes in each game, and Mark has done a great job. I've often said to people it's maybe one of the most, if not the most difficult job in the country when you talk about basketball. And I just think he has done a great job coming in, following a guy like John Calipari, who did a lot, so much there. And just really impressed with what he's done with the entire program and the way he was able to get there and put a team together that has them playing this time of year as well.
All right, we'll go to questions right over here.
Coach, Akeem Gillespie, Indy Star. Jamai said that Zakai is the best point guard in the country. Just what makes him the best point guard in the country, and just how big of an asset is it to have Zakai on your side?
Well, I think it's easy for all of us to look at him and say that because of how he impacts the game in ways from the way he picks up 94 feet, how often he gets screened with ball screens, and the effort that he plays with on both offense and defense, and the fact that, he was not a player that was highly sought after coming out of high school, but he's never flinched in terms of competition. He, from the time he stepped foot on our campus, he's never made anything about him. He's a very unselfish person, cares about people, certainly high-level competitor, but the way he impacts the game in so many different ways and how much he's improved. And I think, and I say it all the time, what people see him do during the game, we watch it every day in practice. And that's who he is. I mean, he doesn't take time off. I worry about him all the time with how hard he goes. I watch him go through a practice like it's the last one he's going to have, and then he'll spend it in 30 minutes in the gym working on something. And that's why he is and who he is, and why, like Jamai, we wouldn't trade him for anybody in the country.
Right here in the back, Coach.
Rick, Darryl Bird with the Cats Paws in Lexington. Cade and Zakai both said that regarding the two Kentucky games, we just didn't play Tennessee basketball. How would you define that? And it's been over a month since you guys played. What's different about your team now?
Well, I think when you don't play Tennessee basketball, first I think you got to give them credit. I mean, for whatever reason, I think when you lose a game, it's easy to start saying we didn't do this or we didn't do that. But fact is, they did what they did, and they probably had something to do with why we didn't do this or do that. They shot the ball well. I can tell you that, do I think that, again, when they're open, do I think their shots are going to go in? Absolutely. But also you have to think that might be part of their schemes that we weren't ready for. And I think you got to give them all the credit. But we've got to be better. We know that. But both of those games were very close played games, and they made more plays and the right plays when they needed to, and we'll have to be better. But you're right. It seems like it's been forever that we last saw them. But again, I go back nothing but the utmost respect for. And the first time we played them, I think it was maybe the first game Lamont didn't play. I think, and that game took on a personality early, a lot like what happened when we played Florida when they came back to our place after getting beat by 30 down there, and we had two starters that didn't play, and we won that game. Sometimes it doesn't make rhyme nor reason how it works out, other than the fact that we're both here again, which I think is a compliment to our league and to both programs, and we have a chance to do it again.
Right here.
Rob Lewis with VolQuest.com. Coach, you referenced those 12 threes in both games. I mean, you guys were one of the best in the country at defending the three-point line. Was there a common denominator for that?
Yeah, I mean, again, attribute some of that to their actions that they run, and we didn't defend it, and they made some tough ones too. They did. And they have the ability to do that, and so you can guard them, but when you let a team get confident, get rhythm, I mean, it's even harder to break it. But I think that you got to give them credit for their schemes, and whether it was we didn't do a good enough job getting back in transition, finding people, not on edge enough with the zoom actions they run, or ball screen, you can name it. They got it done and we didn't.
Questions, please? Right here.
Yeah, Rick, Darryl Burr with Cats Paws again. The rivalry is as intense as it gets, but when you add on the stage here and what's at stake, is there a challenge for both coaches that your guys aren't too hyped and exhausted after the first 90 seconds?
Well, yeah, I mean, people are going to be excited. Both teams are going to be excited, and obviously I would assume this is the first time that both teams have ever met in a regional final. I mean, a regional first round game of a regional, and I just know that both teams will. I mean, I expect them to be at their very best, and I think they would expect the same from us. And how each guy handles that after these many games, I wouldn't think it would be something they're going to be too overly amped about. I think we got to be on edge, obviously, but our goal is that we can improve. We got one more practice before we play them, that we can improve today and be ready to go tomorrow.
Right here.
Yeah, Rick Gentry, Estes, Tennessee, and you were in Omaha when the baseball team won last year, and what do you most remember from that? Not necessarily what it meant for that team, but what it meant for the campus, the town, and have you allowed yourself to think what it could be like for your program?
I don't do that. I mean, I'm a one day at a guy kind of guy, and was I extremely excited for all of us at the University of Tennessee? Absolutely, because I was there 10 years ago when there wasn't a lot was in flux and things weren't going maybe the way everybody wanted it to do. And then again, I go back now with our leadership from Randy Boyd, Donde Plowman, and what Danny White and his staff has done is remarkable, and it really is. And I remember my first year 10 years ago, we weren't in the NCAA tournament, but I'm talking about before I ever coached a game. I walked out to the baseball stadium one night and sat there, and I promise you I could have counted the people that were there and to see what Tony has done. But, yeah, I think it was a major thing for because I respect every coach on campus, and we're all chasing that. We're all chasing that championship. But I do think what's happened on our campus in the last couple of years is really amazing. And I'm just proud and blessed that God's given me a chance to be a part of it.
Right back here.
Hey, Rick. John Huang, NOLA Media, out of Lexington. I know you hate distractions, so I apologize if you've already addressed this, but I did want to give you an opportunity to address all these wild rumors out there that you may be stepping down after the end of this season.
No, I haven't thought about it. You know what? My last press conference at Texas when I was fired, the last question someone asked me was, do you think you'll coach again? And I had already accepted the University of Tennessee job. And I made the comment, yeah, probably sooner than you think. And I literally walked out of that press conference and got on a plane and went to Knoxville. And at the time when something like that happens, you know, the movement parts in, out, you're somewhat numb. But I made the comment that the athletic director at the time, Steve Patterson, fired me. He didn't really fire me. He just carried out what God wanted him to do. And because of that, I really, truly believe that God brought me to Knoxville for a reason. And everything that I do, I want to live on that platform. It's the most important thing to me. It's more important than winning that game tomorrow. And I think God will make it perfectly clear when he wants me to step down. and my time will be up, but it's not now. I mean, if it is, I don't feel that, but I love coaching basketball. I love being around it. I know right now how hard we're working right now. We've already had a young man on campus after we got back Saturday, Sunday. We had a young man on campus that committed to us, and we're already planning to have a team next year, and I've fully planned to be a part of it. And again, I think when my time's up, I truly believe God will make it clear to me and where He wants me to go next and do next. But I have not thought that in the least bit. I think what happened when that rumor kind of got started, I made a comment one time about Zakai. I said it will be hard to think about coaching without a guy like that. But I could, and I meant that, but I could have said that about my first point guard at George Mason 30-some years ago, Amp Davis. I loved coaching him, and I think after that people thought because I'm a young guy now and that it might be my last year, but the fact is I put it all in God's hands, and I'll know because He'll make it clear to me.
Right here in the front.
Wes Rucker, 24/7 Sports. Rick, you were asked about sort of the athletic department in general a minute ago, and can there be a tangible benefit to how much success so many of the teams at Tennessee are having now? Because I just think about dining halls and around campus, like these athletes are just kind of being around other athletes that have either won titles or are competing for them, have won league titles. Does that stuff elevate an entire program in a way or a department?
No, I think it helps when you're around successful programs. I don't think there's any question, and I think it starts again at the very top. I think our university. I think it started when Bill Haslam was governor and the way he readjusted the board. I think one of maybe the greatest hire for the university is Randy Boyd, who's doing it out of pure love, and there's no other reason. He's a great visionary guy. And what's happened on our campus in the last couple of years has just been utterly remarkable. It's almost like why now? But he's got incredible vision. And hiring Dondi Plowman, I mean, I've never been around a chancellor like her, and I think I'm right by saying this, that I think it's the first time in the history of Tennessee that the president and the chancellor hired the AD, and they went out on a search, and I'm sure they got some help from some people, but they made the hire, and bringing in Danny White and what he and his staff have done, and he's made it clear, not in a threatening type way, but in a way that as a former athlete himself, he said, hey, I want us to be great in everything, and we're going to provide what you need for each sport. And I look at, Chris Woodruff, our tennis coach, came by yesterday. He and I have become very close, and watch what he's done and watch what our women's tennis team is doing. And you go back and look at, Josh Heupel's done a phenomenal job, and obviously we could talk all day about Tony. But Karen Wickley's softball team, they've been there maybe the most consistent program over the whole time in 30 years maybe. You'd know that better than me. But I do think the athletes have a great deal of respect for each other. I know obviously the coaches have that for each other because we know how hard it is to win in our sport. And we know that their sports mean just as much to them, whether you're talking swimming and diving, whatever you make, track and field. There's a standard that when you see other teams living up to it, it's just naturally that you want to live up to it, and do everything you can, because I know this, that I think we're all blessed, and even after some games when you lose, I really always have a prayer to myself and thinking that, hey, there's a lot of guys that would like to be sitting in this losing locker room, and I think that we've got an incredible opportunity here, like everybody else, but it's a blessing that God's given us to be able to be at Tennessee at this time, because it's a lot to be proud of. And everybody talks about their fan bases, everybody. And I don't think there's a program in the country that has sold out men's basketball, football, baseball, women's softball. And I know we've done that. And I think that speaks volumes to how our fan base feels about us, and hope that we can just keep taking it further and further.
Got time for a couple more for Coach right here.
Hey, Rick, Darryl Burr with the Cat's Paws again. You get to spend every day with one of the very best point guards in the country, in Zakai. But I'm curious, scouting, what are your thoughts on Lamont Butler and trying to play through the injury the way he is?
A lot of respect and admiration, because I know that, I really felt bad in our game. He got hit right there about 15 feet away from me, and I knew the way he went down. It was tough, and I've had 2 shoulder surgeries myself, and I know how that feels. And I'm not sure the extent of what he has, but when you get shoulder pain, it's hard to sleep at night. You can never get comfortable in a bed. I mean, I can tell you that I don't know how he's done it. I mean, because of going out there and knowing that he's a point guard, going to get screened a lot, whether it's on-ball screen, off-ball screens, and keep fighting. And I actually noticed watching film the other day, he was trying to protect it one time. I see it. And so you have to have great admiration for a guy that is willing to go out and play in that type of pain.
Last question for Coach Barnes right here, Dennis.
Rick, Dennis Dodd, CBS Sports. Pardon me if you've been asked this question already, but what happened to this league to get it to this point with 14 teams in?
10 years ago, when I walked into my first meeting, it was, I think, Commissioner Sankey's first, and I think he would tell you that Mike Slive had already started the wheels rolling a little bit, but he came in and he made the comment that he had envisioned one day that we could be like our softball programs. I think that year they had 10, 12 teams. They had them all in the tournament. But he said that, and he talked about the league. He was very transparent about where the league was and where his leadership and having to do his part with the athletic directors, because I don't think there had been a real commitment by all the universities in the league. My thought was that, and I'd been fortunate to be at Clemson, Texas, Ohio State, Alabama as an assistant coach, or as a head coach at Clemson. And I can't imagine not using football to help you recruit. I mean, those football weekends are incredible, and I don't think we all know that football is the train that drives it all. We know that. But, you know, there wasn't a commitment back then 10 years ago by every university. It wasn't. And evidently he got that message across on campus, because now our league, you can tell a difference when you go into the arenas, locker rooms, everything is different. But he also talked about scheduling. You know, back when I was at George Mason, you know, you tried to schedule SEC teams in November and December because you felt like you could go in and play in front of nobody and maybe, you know, be able to steal a game, knowing that they may not respect you for it. And but, you know, our scheduling at the time wasn't very good overall. So that was something he addressed, and we put some things in place. The league put some things in place there to take care of that. And I will tell you this: I've never coached against a bad coach, but sometimes we're not all on the same playing field, level. You know, some have more than others, and over time that shows up. Maybe not one game or 2 games, but over the course of the season it does. But I'm impressed with where we are, and then we could talk a lot about officiating. I mean, it was not at one time the SEC years ago was the gold standard, and when John Guthrie stepped away from it, it's for whatever reason the league lost its luster there. And he also he brought Mike Tranghese in as a consultant, but he also hired Dan Liebervich, a former basketball coach, that came in and did an incredible job. Both of them. And Mike, you know, I've known Mike during my days, and you know, Mike sat on the committee forever, you know, Big East committee. He knows basketball as well as anybody in the country. And Dan, obviously being a coach, knew it from a coach's side what was going on. So it started right there, and then Mark Whitehead came in and got it started with the officiating program, because at the time when I was there, Dale Kelly, who was a wonderful man, God rest his soul, was more of an assigner. We needed to have a program in place where we're developing officials. And Mark started it, and then Mike Eads has come in and just followed up like you wouldn't believe, where I think we've got the best officials in the country. I look at our young guys right now that there's no doubt in my mind they're going to be Final Four guys. But I've watched it grow over 10 years, and obviously the coaches. But the biggest thing has been the commitment from the top, from the university, saying, hey, we can be good in basketball as well as football and baseball, whatever it may be. Because at the time, you think about the SEC, they were good in everything. They struggled behind in basketball. I mean, I think that year we might have, was it 3 teams in the tournament or so? It was bad. I mean, we didn't get it. But the only sport that really wasn't living up to it just means more, was the basketball side of it. And I'm telling you, and it wasn't coaches. It wasn't just the coaches. Because, again, we've had great coaches in that league. And so the league and the universities have done their part to get it to this point, too.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you.